Welcome back. I have a 2004 Mazda 6 with a 3.0 liter motor. I'm going to do timing chains on this, and I just wanted to go through why I chose to do timing chains on this particular car. It was throwing camshaft codes on both sides, right and left camshaft sensors, as well as retarded timing. And I pulled codes and checked the sensors, tested them, tested all the way back to the ECM with the computer, and I couldn't find anything wrong. Everything looks good. I sent it to my mechanic and had him look at it as well. He couldn't find anything wrong, and I could make it, well, let me back up. So not only was it throwing codes, but on this particular car, when it has certain problems, it would flash the traction control light at you, and the tach would bounce all over the place. The RPMs would just go up and down, and it would run fine, but it just was freaking out on the dashboard. So I could make it come and go at will. At idle, I wouldn't see the codes. From about 1,000 to 3,000 RPMs, it would throw codes. And at 3,000 RPMs, this has variable valve timing. That variable valve timing gets activated. And when that variable valve timing gets activated, the flashing traction control and the tach bouncing would stop, and it would go away. But as soon as I came back down under 3,000 RPMs, it would come back. So I did a little digging and did a little looking, and the only thing I could think of was, this really sounds to me like it's got a timing issue. There's no timing adjustment on this particular motor. It's either on or it's off. You don't have any ability to actually manipulate it. So the only thing I could think of that would cause that problem would be timing chains. So this is not an easy, I don't want to say it's particularly hard. It's not a simple job. It's a little bit involved to get the timing and get the cams to where they need to be to make sure that you don't mess the timing up on this engine. If you get it wrong, you just wreck the motor. So that's why I chose to do this, and it fixed this problem. Took me, a good 10 hours to do it. I did it over a few days. I took my time. I wasn't in a hurry to have the car, so it did get rid of the bouncing tach and the flashing traction control and the camshaft codes and the retarded timing code. All that's gone now, so obviously it was the right thing to do. I have not seen a video on this particular engine and doing timing change on this, so I thought it would be a good idea to put it together. And I'll break it into three parts here. I'm going to break it into the removal of the chains, the installation of the chains, and then the timing cover as well. I'm going to go through that. I'm just going to go through real quick what you have to take off and get out of the way. So I'm just going to start at the top, basically the top of the engine. You basically got to take off both valve covers. You have to take off the intake plenum, ignition coils, spark plugs, air box, throttle body. You take that and move it out of the way. You have to take off, disconnect the bracket for the alternator, AC compressor, power steering pump. You have to go down underneath, take the right side CV axle. I found it easier to take the CV axle and the entire axle right out of the transmission. It's a little difficult to get to. I had to disconnect the right side, passenger side control arm, took the whole basic assembly of the steering knuckle and everything out. It was just easier. I could not get it separated, the CV joint separated from the knuckle, so I just took the whole thing out. I got that. Obviously you have to take off the right side rotor and caliper. One of the things you'll find when you're taking that CV out is you either have to do one of two things. You either have to cut that boot and separate the joint, because when it goes through the yoke, basically that connects to the strut, the yoke's not big enough to pull the CV joint through. You have to either split that boot apart, split the joint, which I didn't want to do, or I disconnected the whole control arm, both bolts at the bottom, one at the top, and then I could move the yoke out of the way and get that shaft out. You have to take that out. You have to take out harmonic balancer, idler pulley, obviously serpentine belt, tensioner pulley. You have to take over the exhaust crossover underneath. You have to drop the oil pan off of this. Then you have to block the motor, block it up. You have to take the front motor mount off and the bracket that mounts right into the middle of the timing cover. So that's just what you have to take off to get to the cover. Take the cover off and get to the chains. It took me, I don't know, I did it over a couple days, 3 or 4 hours probably at least. I would say 3 or 4 hours to get that stuff apart and get it off. I had to take the whole front bumper off the car, the bumper cover and the bumper support, because I had one bolt on the AC compressor on the bracket that I could not get loose. It just wouldn't come loose, and I couldn't get enough leverage on it, even with a long wrench to break it loose. So taking the bumper cover off and the radiator support, all that stuff off the front, allowed me to pivot the AC condenser and radiator enough that I could get a ratchet in there and break that bolt loose to get it apart. So actually the bumper took 10 to 15 minutes to get off. It's not that bad. But that's just what you have to take off to get to the timing chains. Here you can see crankshaft, the harmonic balancers over here, and there's a pulse wheel, crankshaft pulse wheel for the crankshaft sensor on here. And what you have to remember is the keyway for this, and here's the key on this side. It doesn't matter what side it's on, but what you have to remember when you take this off and put it back is that's where the space in the wheel is, where my finger is. There's a gap. That is what you want on the keyway. So you're just going to slide this off. It says front. You can see that right at the top there, I think. Let's see if I can show it to you. Right at the front says front. So pretty easy. That's to determine that's the way it comes off, and that's the way it needs to go back on. So here you can see there's the crankshaft, and you can see both chains. You see the front chain. This is the right side chain, the left side chain behind it. There's a couple things here. First, looking at the front of the engine, this is the crankshaft. I put the bolt back in temporarily. We're going to use that to turn the engine over. The keyway is right here where my finger is. When you're doing, the first thing you want to do is you want to rotate this. Don't do it counterclockwise. And you're going to rotate this to that keyway is at the 3 o'clock position over here. And then once you have it there, you're going to check up top, and I'll show you what it should look like on the right side or towards the rear of the car, what the two timing marks on the camshaft sprocket, what position they should be in for those back two cams, those right side cams. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to turn this around till 3 o'clock and then check the timing marks to make sure the timing marks are where they need to be in order to remove this right side chain and the components for the timing chain. We're looking right down at into the front of the motor. Here's the front of the crankshaft right here. So here's the keyway right there. We're going to turn that and turn it around to the 3 o'clock position, and then we're going to check our timing marks to see if we are where we need to be. I have both of the wheels off the ground. This one is in neutral. This is a stick, so make sure you do that. So. So I'm at 3 o'clock right now. Where am I? So what we want to look at is in the front of this camshaft, these two camshafts, there's two timing marks. Hopefully you can see that. Right here. Right there is one. Let me see if I can get a better shot of it for you. So we're at 3 o'clock. Right there is one of the timing marks. You can see it on the side. And on this other cam, we have to kind of peek down in here and see if it's in the right spot or not. Otherwise we have to go around. It's hard to even see. I'll let you know in a second. So we've rotated the crankshaft around so the keyway is in the 3 o'clock position, looking at it from the front of the crankshaft. And this is the exhaust and intake cams on the right side of the motor, or the side closest to the firewall. And you can see there's two marks there. There's a exhaust side mark that's straight up at 12 o'clock, and then there's the intake cam, and there's a mark on that at 3 o'clock. So we want to make sure when that crankshaft keyway is at 3 o'clock that the timing marks on the cams are in the 12 o'clock for the exhaust and 3 o'clock position for the intake. So I'm going to show you that right now, what they look like. If they're not, you got to keep going and go around until you get back to 3 o'clock on the crankshaft and make sure the timing marks are in the right place. So right there, what you're seeing right here is the intake cam on the right hand head, the head towards the firewall. That timing mark should be at 3 o'clock, and if you look right there, there's the timing mark. If I don't get to focus, right there. Right here at 3 o'clock is that timing mark. That's what we want. It's a little harder to show you this back one because I have to show it to you with a mirror, so I'll try to. I need about 4 hands to do this, but I'll give it a shot. So right in that mirror, you see me moving it around, you see that mark on that right there. That's the mark on the exhaust cam, and it's pointing at 12 o'clock, so we have what we want. Intake cam time mark is at 3 o'clock. It's like the picture says here. Exhaust is straight up at 12. And that means we should be able to take this right side chain and the components apart. So we're looking straight down into the front of the engine here. And I'm actually going to remove, first thing you have to remove, do these in order, is the tensioner for the chain on the right hand side. So there's two 10mm bolts. I'm going to actually do this from underneath. It'll give you a little better shot of me not being in the way so you can see this, but there's 2 bolts right here. We're going to take them out. That's the first thing that has to come out. There it goes. Get them both loose here, I hope. That's going to leak oil when you do that, which I didn't realize, but now I know. So there's the tensioner out, basically, and it will leak oil. I'll have to clean that up, but no big deal. We won't be reusing these. We'll reuse the bolts. I'll set this aside with the right side chains and everything, because I probably will use the bolts. I don't believe you get new bolts with it, but I do have new tensioners. Always put the bolts back with the parts so you don't lose them. So the next thing, and do this in order, is the tension arm, which is this arm right here. It's just held in place. It's real simple to get out. So it's just a push stand right here at the top, like that. Slides over a pin. Once the tension's off of it, obviously it comes right out of there. So when I set these down, and I highly recommend you do the same thing, I will put the right and the left sides, keep all the parts together that I'm taking off in order to make sure they go back in the right place. They are different. I mean, there's a, I don't know if the part is different on the left and right for this. It may not be, but you know, why take the chance? Just put it down, keep them together, right and left sides, and then you'll know where they go. Next thing to take off is this chain. Basically, we have plenty of slack in it now. We should be able to get this off of here, around that pin. There you go. We do not want to turn anything right now. Make sure that we don't turn anything. So there's the chain. There's the right side chain. And the timing guide, the chain guide, which is the guide over here. What's going to come out of there is this plastic insert. So you just want to slide that insert out. That's what we did. Just slides right up and out. Now we're going to do left side chain. Hopefully you can see this. The crankshaft, the keyway. This is the front of the car is this way. Basically this way. And the keyway, when we did the right side chain, is at 3 o'clock. So we're going to take that and rotate it 1 2/3 until that keyway goes all the way around to 3 o'clock and then all the way around to 11 o'clock position. That will put the left side cams in a neutral position. Timing mark should be, we'll show you what a timing mark will be. I believe it's 9 o'clock and 12 o'clock. And then we can remove the left side tensioner, guide, chain, and get ready to put the new one on. I'm going to rotate this clockwise. all the way around till it's at 3 o'clock again. It's at 1 o'clock right now. And we're at 3, that's 1 revolution. Now we're going to go 2/3 around to the 11 o'clock position. We're 9 o'clock right now. A little bit further. $11 o'clock position. Those cams should be in a neutral position. Here you can see the exhaust cam, left side of the motor. And you see that timing mark is at the 12 o'clock position. And on the intake over here, it's at the 9 o'clock position. And that's what we want. And the crankshaft keyway is at 11 o'clock. Okay, so now we're doing the left side. First thing is the tensioner. So we're going to do that. 10 millimeter. I've gotten the tensioner off on this left-hand side. It's a real pain. I had to basically, if you can collapse it and put a pin in it and compress it before you try to take it out, that's great. I could not do that. I just couldn't get enough. There is a 2 holes. This one, you should be able to stick a paper clip or something in. Once you compress this, you have to take a small screwdriver and turn this, kind of pry that ratcheting mechanism out of the way. Then you can compress this, but I could not get it compressed enough, and I actually hear it click and ratchet back in place. I couldn't get this loose. My guess is if I could get that loose, then this wouldn't be an issue. I had to actually pry against in here, put a small screwdriver in here, release the mechanism, and take another screwdriver between the arm here and the end of this tensioner, and kind of pry on it, push it in, and as it pushed in, it tilted out, and I could get it out. Otherwise, you get stuck behind this. It's just a pain. It's tough to get out. You put the new ones in, they'll have a pin in them, and then you don't have to worry about it. You definitely don't want to take a pin out ahead of time, that's for sure. So then we should be able to, hopefully, take this off. Let's see how hard this is going to be. I see, I don't know how I'm supposed to get that out of there. It's blocked in the way there by the chain. Oh man, I gotta say, there's nothing easy on this thing. Man, there's nothing easy on this. Wow. Alright, so I got the guide loose at the top. Get this back off there. I got the guide out of there. Not a lot of room in this thing, I'll tell you that. Not a lot of room. Trying to get the chain loose enough that I can get it out of the way. If I can do that, I might be able to pivot this out of there. Wow. Really don't like this design, to tell you the truth. There's the guide. So, take the guide off. Now I should be able to take the chain off. That was not a lot of fun. Look on here. Take the chain off of here. That's the easiest part so far. Okay, here's the chain. The only thing left to take off is right here, is this gear, which, as you can see,
Hopefully you can see that. Slides back and forth easy, should come right off of there. As I said before, this other guide, you just pop that off. They have new ones for it. There's a clip hidden. I'll show you the one from the other side. This is the top right here. So in the middle you see there's a little tab on that one, which should be in the middle here. So we're gonna have to reach out of there, release that tab, and we should be able to pry it right up off there. Of course it's buried, so you can't see it. And I did cut my finger. Haven't accomplished anything if you haven't cut yourself at least once. Find the tab here. Come on. I'll release it. Come on. Yeah, because just pop that tab off. It's a little tough to get to, but because you can't see it, and that comes out. They got replacements for them in the timing kit. That's pretty much it. Next will be just cleaning. Just cleaning. Make sure everything is clean. So the one thing we, like I said before, the one thing we have to still take off is this crankshaft gear. We're gonna have to remove that bolt again. Being careful not to turn the crankshaft, and then we'll pull that gear off. So it's apart now. Chains are out. That left chain was a real pain, as I mentioned earlier, because of the tensioner, but it did come out. I've taken the bolt and the gear off the crankshaft. Just be careful when you're taking that off. I used a gun because it zipped it right off. You don't want this to move. You want it to stay put. You're going to have to check that and make sure it's in the right position when you put everything back together, but really you just don't want it to move once you take it off. So that's it for the removal of the chains. In the next video, I'm going to show you how to install the new chains, tensioner, and guides, and how to make sure that they're correct and aligned and you have the timing correct on that.